The October wind whipped around me, rustling the dead leaves clinging stubbornly to the branches. It was late, the kind of late where the sugary buzz of trick-or-treating had faded, replaced by a bone-deep weariness and the first shivers of the encroaching night. My friends, ghosts and goblins alike, had peeled off one by one, their pillowcases bulging, their parents' promises of hot chocolate and a warm bed proving too tempting to resist. I, however, had one more stop in mind, the house at the end of the cul-de-sac. It stood silhouetted against the starless sky, a gaping maw of shadows. No porch light, no friendly Halloween decorations, just a single eerily grinning pumpkin casting an anemic glow. Everyone knew to avoid that house. Rumors swirled around Mr. Abernathy, the recluse who lived there, whispers of strange rituals, disappearances, and a general air of wrongness. But something, maybe the leftover sugar rush or the thrill of defying the collective fear, drew me in. I trudged up the cracked walkway, the crunch of dead leaves under my sneakers the only sound. My heart hammered against my ribs as I reached the porch and hesitantly rang the doorbell. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, before being shattered by a slow, groaning creak. The door swung inward, revealing a figure shrouded in shadow, then a step forward into the pumpkin's light. My breath hitched. He was tall, impossibly thin, and wore a mask. Not a playful, cartoonish mask, but something unsettling. A blank white face with wide, staring eyes and a jagged, toothy grin that seemed both painted on and disturbingly real. Long, skeletal fingers, ending in blackened nails, extended from the sleeves of a dark, tattered coat. "Well, well," a raspy voice whispered from behind the mask. "A late visitor. I have a proposition for you, young man. A choice, if you will." He paused, the silence punctuated only by the wind whistling through the gaps in the doorframe. "Option 1, I give you candy. Option 2, you give me candy." My mind raced. What kind of twisted game was this? I fumbled for an answer, my throat suddenly dry. I don't understand," I stammered. The figure chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. "Oh, I think you do. Choose wisely, child. The night is full of tricks, and some treats are more binding than others." Panic clawed at my chest. Option 1 sounded like a trap, a debt to be paid later. But giving him candy, what would he do with it? I glanced down at my overflowing pillowcase, at the colorful wrappers that now seemed like glittering, tempting bait. Suddenly, the mask moved. The eyes widened, the grin stretched impossibly, and for a split second I thought I saw something beneath it, something inhuman, something ancient. I instinctively recoiled, stumbling backwards off the porch. I choose option 1, I blurted out, the words tumbling out in a rush. "You give me candy." He leaned in, his breath smelling of dust and cloves. "I'm a coin spent for a gluttonous need, a 24-hour lesson for a soul full of greed. I am a mirror that shows you your end, a flesh-woven spell that no magic can mend." "What am I?" I rolled my eyes. "Lame. It's just candy. Can I have it or not?" The figure remained motionless for a moment, the silence heavy with unspoken menace. Then, with a sigh that sounded like the rustling of dead leaves, he reached inside the doorway. He produced a single piece of candy, a small, individually wrapped square of dark chocolate. He held it out to me, his long skeletal fingers trembling slightly. I snatched the candy, not wanting to linger a second longer. "Thank you," I mumbled, turning to flee. As I ran, I ripped open the wrapper and shoved the chocolate into my mouth, craving the familiar sweetness, desperate to erase the taste of fear. But the chocolate wasn't sweet. It was bitter, acrid, like ashes and something else, something faintly metallic, like blood. I gagged, trying to spit it out, but it was too late. The flavor clung to my tongue, a lingering aftertaste of dread. I spat violently onto the dead grass of a neighbor's lawn, but the taste was indelible, a stain on my very soul. I ran the rest of the way home, my pillowcase thumping against my leg, no longer a trophy but a heavy, mocking burden. My legs felt wrong, heavy, not just tired but weighted. My joints, usually buzzing with a Halloween sugar high, now ached with a dull creeping cold. I blamed the chocolate, the fear, the late hour. I stumbled into my room, tossed the pillowcase into the corner, and fell into bed, my costume still on. Sleep was not a comfort. It was a dark, suffocating plunge, filled with whispers and the sound of ancient chants. I awoke to a body that was not my own. The first sensation was the smell, dust, dried herbs, and a faint coppery tang. The second was the ache. It was a deep, bone-settled weariness, a 1,000-year-old exhaustion. I tried to groan, but the sound that escaped my throat was a dry, rattling, raspy sound, the voice from behind the mask. Panic, cold and sharp, cut through the fog. I tried to sit up, but my limbs were stiff, my back a column of crackling pain. I looked down at my hands. They were not the hands of a boy. They were long, skeletal fingers. The skin was paper-thin, stretched taut over prominent knuckles. And the nails were thick, yellowed, and blackened at the cuticles. I screamed, but the sound was just that dry, hacking cough. I fell out of bed, my joints shrieking, and half-crawled, half-stumbled to the full-length mirror on my closet door. I stared, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. It wasn't me, it was him, the figure from the porch. The blank white face with its wide, staring eyes and jagged, toothy grin stared back at me. I clawed at my face, desperate to rip the mask off, but my long, blackened nails only skittered across a surface that felt like smooth, cold porcelain. It wasn't a mask, it was my face. My heart hammered against a ribcage that felt brittle and hollow. I remembered the wrapper. I scrambled back to my jeans, pulling them from the floor, my new clumsy fingers fumbling with the pockets. I had shoved the wrapper in there. I pulled it out. The foil, once a simple black, now shimmered with faint silvery text that wasn't there before. I read it in the dim morning light, my new wide eyes absorbing the words, the raspy voice in my head giving them sound. You chose the treat, a selfish gain, and dodged the trick, avoiding pain. But all gifts have a price, you see, a 24-hour lesson as me. You took the easy path, you plead? A binding cost for selfish greed. You are the monster, you're the blight, you are the keeper of the night. No, I whispered, the sound like sand on stone. No, no! A sharp rap on my door made me jump. Honey, you up? You're going to be late for school. My mother's voice. School. I looked in the mirror, at the monstrous grinning face, the skeletal hands. I couldn't let her see me. I couldn't let anyone see me. I'm sick, I rasped, the voice sounding impossibly deep and wrong in my own bedroom. The doorknob jiggled. Are you okay? You sound awful. Don't come in, I shrieked, scuttling backward into the darkest corner of my room, pulling my knees to my aching chest. I don't feel well. Can I stay home today? The silence on the other side of the door stretched. Oh, she finally said, her voice uncertain. Okay, well, I'll call the school. Just rest. I have to get to work. Feel better. I heard her footsteps retreat down the hall. The front door closed. I was alone. I slowly stood, my new body cracking and popping, and looked at the alarm clock on my nightstand. 7:45 a.m., a 24-hour lesson. I looked at my reflection, at the permanent painted-on jagged grin. I have to make it until midnight without anyone seeing me and then definitely stay away from the house at the end of the cul-de-sac forever.